Welcome to the May Tech Coach newsletter. I have a lot of stuff in the newsletter this month. I don't know. I just have a lot to share. One of the things that I have been thinking about a lot at present, and is not in the newsletter, is about getting into classrooms. And I've asked some other tech coaches about this too, and nobody really has an answer, unfortunately. But one of my favorite things about coaching and I guess teaching in general too, because when I was a teacher, I loved this, but you'd be walking down the hall, something is going on that looks really fun, looks cool and exciting, and you would walk into a classroom just to see what's going on and you would learn something new or you could participate or hear a fun story. And it was really fun to get into classrooms and like observe and see what's going on. And the thing is, like, I'm sad because that's not a thing anymore. And it's not that kids aren't having fun and those things are still happening in classrooms, but we are not allowed to have our doors open anymore. Those doors are not only closed, but they're locked. There's no way to just kind of organically walk into a classroom without having to have a key, having to knock, having to ring a doorbell. No matter how ninja like you are, there is no way to like come in and just kind of observe and see what's going on without having all of those heads like turn and disrupt the flow of the class, which is what you don't want to do. So I don't know. I'm open to thoughts and suggestions and advice from any of you out there. Let me know. Teachers I work with, let me know. What works for you? Would you rather that I come in and see what's going on and join in on the fun, even though it might disrupt things? Or do you prefer, like, nah, just let us do our thing, don't interrupt because they're so distracted as it is, you know? So it is something I think about a lot. I would like to do more walking around and popping into classrooms, but it's logistically, sometimes depending on the building and the district I'm in, I am literally locked out. Another thing that can be kind of frustrating sometimes is um, teachers at middle school level have difficulty having me come into their rooms because the nature of your job is that you may teach the same thing 7 times in one day. So it doesn't help you for me to show up for one class period when you have 6 others or some version of that. And what I think I want to let you all know is that you can absolutely, if you have a project or you have something you want to do, you want to, like, I'm going to be selfish and I want to book Jen for the day. I can and I have blocked off a whole day. If we have a project or something and I need to be there for those 7 classes, we can. The only difficulty with that is that we just have to really plan ahead so I can get that booked in the calendar. I have had it where I spend all day except for like an hour when somebody else had already booked or something. We can work around it. I just need you to tell me what you need, and then I can try to make that work. So I work for you. You tell me what you need. Let's go over the newsletter and see what is on here today. So this month, my theme, my informal kind of off the cuff theme here is Google Earth, virtual vacations, and tours. So if you are interested in doing a project using Google Earth, we have done that in 5th grade in Miss Blaze Becker's class. They read Number of the Stars. So we create a little Google Earth tour where we find locations from the book, and we actually like travel virtually up the coast of Denmark. And then there are some locations that aren't actual locations, it's historical fiction. But we can use Google Earth and Street View to find a location that kind of matches, and we can say, hey, this is where Uncle Henrik's cabin would have been, or something like that. And it's kind of cool. It just gives the kids more context and more real world application. So yeah, let's come up with something fun with Google Earth. So hit me up. Other current news and info, I've got some activities for the end of the school year, some activities for well-being, depends on what your class needs. I like to put a lot of ideas out here so you can kind of pick and choose what works for you. Tinkercad has a sim lab. I have not dug into it, but it sounds super cool. And I saw this whole resource here. It says pack of parts and an example you can use to make your very own Rube Goldberg machine. So I was like, that would be really fun to do in Tinkercad. So there's the actual project there. Um, some more artificial intelligence resources. Here is a would you rather question generator. So that's kind of fun if you're looking for like little icebreakery activities for kids. This is a tool that uses artificial intelligence to have conversations with influential figures in history. So if you teach Soch, could be kind of fun. And TCEA did a whole like how to reference artificial intelligence. So if you are going to use artificial intelligence and you want to cite it and reference it, there's some details on that. Little tips, 4 ways to spot AI generated photos. Not perfect. None of the artificial intelligence stuff is perfect. A lot of it is just making your best judgment, and nothing is certain. And that's what's so weird about the time of artificial intelligence, is that we don't have any surefire ways to know what is real and what is fake. So you kind of have to take all of your human being smarts and put them together to make your best guess, your best judgment as to what is reliable and what isn't. On my currently reading or listening list this time around, I have just podcasts. Because I have a long drive, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So NPR does like a 5-minute news brief. They update it every hour, but I listen to that every morning. News is depressing. I don't love it, but I also want to know what's going on in the world. So this is a good way to stay informed without harping on the really depressing stuff, sensationalized stuff. A good education podcast is Control the Chaos EDU. My friend Steph is one of the hosts. They've got all sorts of topics, so you can kind of go to the show, scroll through, and find ones that are applicable, interesting to you. An interesting one here, there's a podcast I listen to called Maintenance Phase, which is all about diet culture and kind of debunking a lot of myths and things. So you're like, what does this have to do with education, Jen? This particular episode was all about sugar and how we, including myself, have always kind of been taught or been told like, oh, sugar makes kids hyper, and sugar, kids they're getting all wound up and stuff. And I was surprised to learn that's not necessarily the truth. So kind of in the vein of the whole like trusted sources, fake newsy kind of stuff. This is very interesting because this particular podcast uses a lot of research to debunk like diet culture information or disinformation. And I learned a lot from this. And one of the last one on my list here, something I really like, is from NPR, and it's a podcast called Hidden Brain. All of the episodes are really good, but this one in particular, called Remember More, Forget Less, talks about memories and why we remember what we remember, and the reasons why we might not remember other things, but also just kind of about like learning and how we learn and how we can make things stick. And I thought that was really good for educators, very relevant. So love all the hidden brains, but that one in particular, pretty good. In PD coming up, the LTC has a couple of events. One is EdTech Next, which is an actual like physical conference you can go to. It is at it's in Galena in August, and always pretty fun. This summer, the LTC is hosting a computer science PD week. So if you are a teacher interested in teaching computer science or kind of honing your skills in computer science, or that is something that your curriculum already covers and you just want to feel more up to date on it, there's a whole week of activities. Very fun. And Apple Learning Coach applications are now open. So if you use Apple devices in your district and you are interested, you can apply for Apple Learning Coach. I do have my Apple Learning Coach certification. I don't know. I am an Apple Learning Coach. I went through that whole process. So if you have any questions, ask me and I'm happy to help. In Google News, couple of resources here. Google Sites mini tutorials. So if you have ever gotten into or want to get into creating a Google site, which is what I use for my website, I love Google Sites. There's a whole bunch of tutorials at this link. Little snippets on how to do things. So if you are interested in, I think Google Sites is very easy to use and you can figure out a lot of it on your own, but this is a great resource to have if you want more help or trying to do something specific. And then this Google Docs URL trick, if you are not familiar with replacing the end of the address where it normally says like /edit. You can change it to a number of different things for different purposes. So, for example, /copy forces students to make a copy. So I know in my districts where we use Canvas, that is like an invaluable, kind of trick. I also like the turning something into a template. So that's a good trick for editing the URL. But anytime you're sharing out a link, this is good knowledge to have. For resources, this round here, I found this interesting article about ergonomic principles. So if you sit at a desk all day, so it says for video editors, but any of us that sit at a desk for any length of time during the day, these are kind of some tips and tricks. I can't speak today, for being more ergonomically sound. I know for myself, I've noticed a big difference with those sorts of things. I actually have a kind of ergonomic computer mouse here, and kids always ask me about it, and I say, well, it's because I'm an old lady and I need an ergonomic mouse for my carpal tunnel. So it does help, actually. In third grade in Chicago Ridge, one of the things we did was we played Google Sheets Battleship this week. So I've got some information about that. I actually made a simplified version in Google Sheets, and if you click this link, you can get your own copy of it to do with your kids. So basically, you're playing Battleship, but you're just doing it digitally using Google Sheets. So you don't actually need the game with you. There is a version that was done by Eric Kurtz. His version of Battle Sheets I linked here. I found for third grade it was a little bit too much, so I kind of simplified it and made my own version of it. But if you're looking to use it with older students, that might be the link that you want. And under tech tips and tricks this month, Stickity is an add-on for Google Docs and an add-on for Google Sheets. And I know in Chicago Ridge and in South Holland, I made sure that these were allowed to install if you don't have them already. I'm going to give you a little demo of how this works because this is a really cool add-on. Okay, so check this out. Stickity is an add-on for Google Slides and for Google Docs. And I'm just going to open up a blank slides presentation, but this is great for existing slide presentations to really kind of level up your presentations and your like cues for students. So I'm going to go to extensions and add-ons, and you'll see that Stickity for Slides, I've already added it on mine. Click on open. You get this little sidebar. Now, Stickity has all these little categories of things, such as little expectations, work style, action. So these are just icons. And if you're doing an activity and you expect kids to be silent, I would just click on that icon and it would pop up in my Google slide. And then I can move it just like any other, image that I would. So it's neat because it's just got these like consistent, whisper levels. So if you do noise levels, if you do working styles, if you have like a champs program, that could be good. These are pretty interesting because it's like supplies, like what you will need today. And just for consistency's sake, it's nice to have these. Now, here are some fun things you can do. Like if you have learning targets, you can click on that and here's your little target icon. And what's fun about this is that it's a little animated target. So it's kind of fun. We've got things you can use. Again, these are just cues for vocabulary word, for homework, for just instructions, types of questions, start here arrows, stop here, wait for directions, type here cues. I love that they're animated. That's really cool. I can't go through all these, but these are great for Google Docs for like feedback. You can use these as a teacher and insert these into projects. These are neat little buttons you can add and then link them out to things like hints or link out to, a website, a study guide, an example, navigation buttons if you like to put navigations on your presentations. One of the coolest things though are these timer buttons. So these are just icons up at the top here. So I would click on it if I wanted to add the 5 because we're going to do a 5-minute activity. So I might use this just as a visual cue. It's just a picture. However, down here, these video timers, if I click on, let's do 2 minutes because there's a donut. I'm going to click on it. Got to wait a second. But look at that. It just popped up a 2-minute timer I can resize it, and you can preview it here if we click it. And it's just a little 2-minute video, 2-minute timer, and it's all like stickity branded or whatever. So you see the little donuts get eaten over the course of the 2 minutes. So they're cute. You don't have to go find timers and like bring them in. They're all just right here within the stickity interface. And I just think this is super fun and just great for the like visual cueing and consistency's sake. In digital citizenship news this month, I have a set of bookmarks. So I like to draw on my iPad. If you didn't know that, where you been? I have a PDF here for you that you can print out like on cardstock and slice them down to a page. So I love these bookmarks because you can print them, cut them, have students color them in, and whether they like it or not, they always have these tips right in front of them that they can use in order to determine if their sources, articles, online whatevers are reliable and can be trusted. I have a couple other links to some media literacy resources. This one in particular comes from Michigan, and it has a whole bunch of tools listed like by grade levels here if you're looking for something new. Wesley Fryer, he has a whole lesson, a unit that he does on conspiracy theories. So I'm very interested in that. Like, how do you do it without perpetuating them? So he's got a whole unit that he uses to teach kids. So link out to that as well. So, in the vein of coloring bookmarks, because that's my favorite thing to do, I have made custom bookmarks for Chicago Ridge and for South Holland, featuring your mascots of your school buildings. So, those are there. Feel free to use them, print them out, give them to kids, again, just for fun. And then we, of course, have our shout outs. I try to collect all these, but a lot of times between the time I record the video and put this out, a lot of times there's more. I can say that there has been a lull in teachers tweeting out. So mostly when I do shout outs, it's just Jen's tweets, but they're about things that we are doing in classrooms with other teachers. Now, I know some of you don't have an account. That's cool. And others might be a little discouraged with the current state of things, which is also understandable. But if you're feeling it, put it out there. I do get notified if I get tagged and stuff. So things that we have that I have featured. I did make a video on using the iPad for green screen. I believe I've already shared this out with everybody, but again, that's there. If you need it, you can go back to it. At South Holland, we used Google Slides and WeVideo to make some cute little pixel GIFs, some little animated guys. They're super fun. We actually turned them into buttons as well with our button maker. This is the tweet all about our battleship game in 3rd grade. That was at Chicago Ridge at Ridge Lawn. At Ridge Central, we were using WeVideo to do some green screen activities. I was really amazed, like the very small amount I had to show them, and then they just took off and like ran with it. Like the stuff kids do, amazing. At Ridge Lawn, 1st grade, we practiced using Microsoft Flip for the first time and showed them all the different filters and like lenses you could use. So they had so much fun with it. And again, the joy that comes off of them is so great. In South Holland for Earth Day, we made Shrinky Dink charms. So I've got my little Earth Day Shrinky Dink charm there. That was pretty fun. So they drew their designs, used some printouts I had for inspiration, and we got to make and take a thing. And then just today, at Miss Duncanson's room at Greenwood, we used our iPads and we used Keynote to actually practice sketching and drawing on our iPads for the different stages of the plant life cycle. So that was really fun because each slide was a different stage. So they got to do a sketch and then like write the important parts, like labeling the parts of each stage. So that was super fun. I love drawing on my iPad. It's the thing that kind of like gets me going. So you want to draw, have me come down to your room. Typical information at the end here, and that is our newsletter for this month. I apologize if this video runs long. Again, I said I have a lot of stuff to share. and I get excited about things. So book your appointments now for between now and the end of the school year, because the time comes so fast and it's gone. I do plan on being back next year for all y'all. So not only could we plan, for the end of this year, but we could get together and let's start making plans for the fall. It is never too early in my world, because I'm a giant nerd. So hit me up and we'll talk soon. Bye.